Okay, so what I'm going to show you in the next few videos is how to actually do kind of like a Reddit style thing. So if you started to add a resource to your application, you probably might have figured some of this out on your own, but you can also follow along with me as I'm doing it. So then we'll have two kinds of things in our app. We'll have tweets, and we'll also have like story submissions or something like that. And I'll show you how you might go about building that. If you notice the styles are a little different here, I actually, in one of the bonus videos, I went in and I changed the styling of this to make it look more like Bootstrap. So check out the bonus videos if you want to see, not Bootstrap, Twitter, using Bootstrap, but check out the bonus video if you want to see how I did that. Or you can just take a look at my commit, which you could see on GitHub and literally see the changes that I made. So the first thing is I kind of want to add like a Reddit style functionality here, right? So if I went to Reddit, I could explore this, and first of all, I want to kind of get a sense of what they call, their resource. And let's see, maybe they have comments, and they also have just like the name of the thing here, but they don't really say what it is. There's actually a simpler version of Reddit that I like, which is Hacker News. And on Hacker News, if you click on an item, you see that it's ID, and then or item and then an ID. So they call it an item. And actually on Hacker News, when you create an item, it has just basically three potential fields. You have title, URL, or text. So I can create something that's like, let's create a new item in our app, and let's say that it could have a item URL or it can have text. How about it? So the first thing I'm going to do here is create a new scaffold. So Rails generate scaffold. I'm going to call that scaffold item, and it's going to have a user references. Don't forget that part. It's going to have a title, which is a string. The short string basically is shorter text. The URL is a string, and the text is text, actually. So let's see if that works. Okay. Let's take a quick look at the migration that was generated before I run it. Looks pretty good. Does any of this need a default? No, I don't think so. All right, so let's run the migration. Oh, I forgot to do skip style sheet, so I'll have to delete this scaffold.scss that was generated. But Rails by default includes a CSS file whenever you create a new scaffold, and it's kind of annoying. So now items should work. So now I have a /items, and I have my item model belongs to user, tweet belongs to user, an item has a user, title, URL, text, all that stuff. I'm going to have to go through and basically customize this just like I did with the other one. So let's go in really quick and customize the item. I don't need item.json, don't need index.json, and show.json. I'm going to end up basically copying over a lot of the stuff that I had inside of tweets. So I'll have something like this for each form field, but I don't need a user ID, so I can just delete that. So I have a title, and here I have a URL, and here I have text. And I also don't need to put a div around that, but I will need to put a, oh, I forgot to do the button. Okay, but I will need to put a div around these guys, just like I did here. Tab all these in. You can tab a few lines with command and then the right bracket, and then close this. And I'll do the same thing on new, not new tweet, but new item. So now this should look a little bit better. Okay, it's fine. I don't like that these are like text boxes. And if I do right click and inspect, it'll show that these are text areas. Whereas probably yeah, I know why, because this is text area. So what was it before? Hold on a second. Text field. Okay. Text field and text field. That makes this shorter, like that. That's what I want. And I can put an or in here for now, just like they have right here. Maybe I make it strong so it's bold. Just forgot to close this. Okay, cool. And now how do my items look? Well, my items don't need that notice. We do need a container around all of this so that it's not pushed all the way to the left. Do need to tab all this stuff in. And what will this end up looking like? It'll end up looking kind of like this. I probably won't need it to be, let's test it out. So title, 1 month Rails, and URL will be https 1monthrails.com, create item. Of course, it's not going to have a user on it. And I forgot to change the show view. How did we show this? Let's just put it inside of a container for now. Okay. All right, we'll just leave it at that for now. So I've basically created items, and I can do a bunch of customization if I want to change the way that it looks. And I'll need to edit the controller as well. So I probably want, let's simplify the controller here. I'm not going to do this before action set item. This is actually where it finds the item, it pulls it out of the parameter. But I'm going to do this inside of each of the views that does this. So it does it in the show, edit, update, and destroy view. So let's just put this in, show, edit, update, and destroy. So now I can get rid of this. And I'm just doing this so that for us it was simpler to remember what's actually happening inside of each one. I can get rid of these JSON lines. I like to delete lines by just selecting a line and doing Command X. This JSON line, because we're basically getting rid of the API part right now. And I'll get rid of this whole respond to thing, so it's not rendering a JSON version as well. So I can do that by getting rid of this and that, tab this whole thing in, and I get rid of the JSON ones. And I also don't need this format.html thing, so I can delete that curly bracket at the end too. So here, it's a lot simpler now. And I can do the same thing with update. Don't need the JSON lines. And I get rid of that thing on the outside. And finally, the same thing in destroy. Cool. So we have that, and then the last thing we're going to need to do is do this by current user. So when you create a new thing, it's actually current user.items.new, and actually this won't work until I add has many items to my current user. Now current user has items, but before they wouldn't have had that. So this is current user.items. Edit should be current user.find. Current user.items.find. Show and index should be fine. Create should be current user.create. items.new. Remember, this makes sure that when we create a new thing, the user ID is set to the current user. Update should be current user.items.find. Destroy should be current user.items.find. This actually makes sure when we do the find based on current user's items, it makes sure that it's finding only from within the current user's items, not from within all the items. That's what this would do, or this, because we don't want someone to be able to edit other people's. And we don't need to permit the user ID to be changeable. Let me actually make sure, did we update that? Yep, we updated that in the tweets controller too. So only the title, URL, and text need to be changeable. So now, if I go back here, test item, I don't even know, HTTP, onemonth.com. Now it has a user set, and it has this item and the URL and all of that stuff. And of course, I need to go in here and customize the links so that they are only shown to you if you own the thing. If, what is it? Item.user equals current user. Show the edit link. Oops, misspelled current user. Now, there's a potential bug that comes up here, which is actually quite interesting. And it's if you end up having items in your database that don't have users, it won't show up here, but if I log out and then look at this item, it will show up. And that's because there is no current user if you're logged out, and the item itself doesn't have a current user, or it doesn't have a user, so the two of these will end up being equal. So this is one of those areas actually where probably the best way to deal with this is to delete any item that doesn't have a user and make sure that an item has to have a user on it. I won't be able to destroy this because I'll get this record not found, because obviously my items controller only looks for within the current user's item, and this is not going to be inside of the current user's item. So I'd have to do this from inside of the admin section, and I can do that by basically just creating a new file here. I used to do it with the generator, but I can do it inside of here as well. Save this and call it item.rb. Copy this whole thing, paste it here, and update tweet to item, and say that I can edit user, title, URL, and text. So now, as long as I'm an admin user, and I go to admin, I'll be able to see items as well, and I'll be able to delete this first one that doesn't have a user. Cool. There we go. And then I can also have this if item user equals current user. I can also change that here around this guy. If item.user, remember this is an item without an @ sign because this is, we're looping over all the items and pulling out an individual one, just calling it item. If this equals current user, then show them these links. And the last thing will probably be I want to authenticate user before every action except index and show. So that'll actually be basically the same thing. And of course I can change this so that it's the user's email instead of that weird thing. Index item user.email, and on the show page as well, item user.email. There's the email, and there's the email right there. And of course, I can see the URL or text. I may want to say something like, if item.text, show the text. But otherwise, this will actually not show it, which is kind of cool. Is that true? What about item, if item.text Rails check if something is not empty. Present. Or question mark. Oh, question mark. There you go. So we can wrap this and just only show it if there actually is text present. You can do the same thing for URL. Okay, so this is the bare bones of another resource that I've just created.